Well, hello, and thank you so much for joining me on Round Glass Living to experience mindfulness. I'm Vishvapani, and in today's practice, we'll be exploring how we can find a compassionate response to suffering. And suffering is always suffering in the world, but when something happens, like the invasion of Ukraine, we see on our television screens, on our news feeds, so much overt suffering. It becomes more real, it becomes more present. And it raises all sorts of questions. I gave a talk on the radio. I do this in the UK fairly regularly, a couple of weeks ago. And I had to find something to say about um, the Ukraine. So what would I say? And do I have any answers? I'm a Buddhist. Does Buddhism have any answers? Buddhism favors non-violence, but what does that mean? For the people who are defending their homes. Buddhism favors compassion, but what does it mean when people are acting in such a way? How can we feel compassionate for that? So I wrote my talk, and something happened that's actually never happened before, which is I read it to the producer before the broadcast, and I could barely get the words out. And then once we finished speaking, she said, yes, very good. I just found these tears welling up inside me from deep down. And it was in a way that I had no sense of while watching the news. I had no sense really that I'd been that affected. And that tells me that our experience exists on different levels. And I'm not personally, I don't always know what my emotional response is until it sort of comes out. So when we encounter suffering, whether that's in ourselves or in other people, our instinct can be self-protection, to close off, close down, close our hearts. But mindfulness and meditation are asking us to keep our hearts open, even when there's suffering, even when it's painful. In fact, especially then. But that does raise a question. This may be a real question for you. How do we avoid feeling overwhelmed? And the answer, I think, is we need to rely on a source of strength that's deeper than our ordinary mind. So let's get into a meditation practice, which will be around those themes. Okay, so let's establish a posture that's grounded. Yes, we need to be grounded once we go into this territory. And in fact, we need to be grounded in this world we inhabit. So let's have our feet on the floor really firmly. Okay, let's have a posture that's really stable. Maybe the image of a mountain comes to mind. We close our eyes if that feels okay. We close our eyes so that we can go inside. We can feel the breath moving. And really focusing on that sense of being rooted, grounded. Take a deep breath. As we breathe out, just let everything settle down. So any tensions, just breathing them out through the feet, through the bottom. Let's do that again. Deep breath in. And breathe out and just let it all go. Resting on the floor. Like a mountain. Pausing. Settling. We'll stay with the breath. Maybe just place a hand on our hearts. So we feel the pressure, we feel the warmth. Now placing a hand on your heart is a good way to become more centered. So there's the movement of the breath, the movement of the body, and the hand can just let us feel that a bit more concretely. There's also the sense of the heart center. And then let the hand come down to the tummy. And again, just feel the breath flowing into the tummy. So the tummy rises and falls, and you'll feel the movement of the abdomen, the muscles around the tummy, as we breathe in and as we breathe out. So really centering, connecting, grounding. How does it feel to breathe into the tummy, the belly? Breathe into the core. Just asking ourselves, what's happening below the surface of my experience? Perhaps on the surface there are thoughts. Just notice them. You're probably having thoughts about what we've been doing, what we will be doing, just about this and that. They're probably there. That's what minds do. They produce thoughts about all that stuff. They're like waves on the sea. When there's some wind, there's going to be waves. But what's below the waves? Come out of our head and bring our attention right into the body, right into the belly. What's below the surface? Deep inside. And it might be a physical sense in the tummy, in the belly. We're contacting what's beneath the surface of our minds. Contacting a sense of the core. and rest there, keeping our attention, that sense of depth. Breath flowing in. As it flows in, breathing in with a sense of kindness, heart in the belly. And bringing to mind something in our own life we find difficult, or even just a sense that life is always difficult in some ways. So breathing in with that and breathing in to this source of strength deep in the heart, deep in the belly. As we contact that source of strength, perhaps an image comes to mind. Maybe a jewel or a flower or a person, face, whatever it might be. So breathing into the heart, breathing into the core, the sense of our own suffering. And as we breathe out, breathing out love, breathing out white light, filling the body. Now, bringing to mind people we know, maybe the people close to us, perhaps our family. Just bring to mind their struggles, their suffering. Breathing it in, breathing in their vulnerability. Breathing out with love, warmth. Because it's this source of strength. Breathing in to this deep source of strength. Breathing in the needs of others. Breathing out with love. If their suffering, if their struggles are like dark smoke, breathe it in. The strength in the core of us transforms it into white light, into love or compassion. Bringing to mind the struggles of the world, the suffering in the world. Perhaps there are images that have stayed with us, that have touched us. Things that are happening to our fellow human beings right now. Not just in one country, but in fact in many countries. That's the reality of other people who are just like us in so many ways. Breathing it in, transforming it, breathing out love, breathing in dark smoke, breathing in suffering, breathing out light, love. Just staying with this balance, this flow, this contradiction. And with this image, or this sense of our core, of something deep, deeper than the ordinary mind, much deeper. Something that can work through us. Just let it flow through you, opening to the reality that includes suffering. Breathing out compassion. Compassion is what happens when love meets suffering. Now just letting the whole thing dissolve, dropping the reflections, letting the world be as it is, resting with whatever the practice has left us with. Whatever questions may remain, coming back to the body, to the senses, to the fingers and toes, just bringing in some movement. And making a very gentle transition. Just gradually shifting our awareness from inside to the space all around us. So that's quite a strong practice. I found my hands most comfortable cupping my knees. When my hand was on my heart, I started to feel emotional and a bit unstable. I tried to breathe to ground myself, felt most stable, keeping my hands below the belt. Hope that was okay. Of course, that's okay. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it, how these things do have an effect. Um, I say that hand on heart. You know, we put our hands there to get in touch with our emotions, and in a way, I like to do that sometimes in meditation to contact my emotions. But when we have an emotion, when we have contacted it, maybe then we just need to be grounded and stable. So perhaps that's what you found just intuitively. So thank you so much for sharing that. You know, it's very challenging for all of us on every level to face suffering, but it is real. And, you know, that awareness, mindfulness is about opening up to what's there. It's not about relaxation and escape and comfort as ends in themselves. It really isn't. It's about being able to be more fully present. And in a world which is such as the one we inhabit, that can be painful. You know, there are ancient traditions of the cultivation of compassion. In Buddhism, in Mahayana, in the Buddhism of Tibet and China and Japan, the great ideal is what we call bodhicitta, the enlightened heart, the heart that lives for all beings, that's making the welfare of all beings our own truest and deepest value. And that goes against this fundamental human tendency to put me and my comfort and my desires and my needs at the heart of everything. So, you know, this tradition is asking us to bring a healthy self-love in relation to the needs of others. And maybe we do need some higher source of strength, whatever that might mean to you, if we're not going to feel overwhelmed. So I'm going to finish with a very powerful poem I love, about compassion, by the English Buddhist teacher Sangharakshita, who's a poet as well. It's published in his Complete Poems, written in the 1950s. And in India where there's tropical rainfall, field freshening rain, white night rain, lingering on in drizzles till dawn, pools of bright silver making, birthing streams in dry clay riverbeds. Pour down, O rain, all day, all night. Pour down, O rain, pour down. World wayfaring compassion, void-born compassion, diamond hard and petal tender. Peace to wild heart waves, bringing, birthing love on the low couch of self. Pour down compassion all day, all night. Pour down compassion. Pour down like rain on this compassionate, lost world. Pour down, pour down, pour down. Thank you for sharing this time. Please continue to explore your meditation practice with us. It's what the world needs at this time. You can check out our daily live meditations Round Dot Glass or on the Round Glass Living app. Thank you so much for joining us today. This is such an important thing to do with our time. Have a great day and keep your heart open.